Okay, perfect. My name is Marcia Black. It is May 14th, 2025, and I am speaking to.
Mary Clarice McCauley Cosey.
And can you share where and when you were born?
Yes, August the 12th, 1936,
And where were you born?
Detroit, Michigan.
And can you talk about how your family got to Detroit and what your connection to Black Bottom is?
uh, my mother came from Mississippi, and my father came from Kentucky, and they met here in Detroit. And they were married at Sacred Heart Church in 1933. And my mom passed away March 1942, and my dad died in no, yeah, 19, he was 82 years old. I was trying to figure how long ago my dad died. 1989, I think it was.
And can you share what is your connection or your family's connection to Black Bottom?
Well, upon arriving in Detroit, that was where my dad and mom moved to. And that was the extent of Black Bottom. I remember, vaguely remember going to the Franklin Wright settlement, and that's in Black Bottom.
Mm-hmm.
So we lived in the area, and we went to. So that would have been my brother Jesse and myself that went to Franklin Wright, and then in 1938, that's when they moved out of uh, the Black Bottom area to the Brewster Projects.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And then you also mentioned that you went to Miller High too.
Yes, yes. I went to Miller High School. Jesse and I both graduated from Miller High School. Mhm. Yeah.
And can you share a little bit about what was Black Bottom like?
Well, I was so young, but I remember from the pictures that my father took, there were a mixture of children uh, that we played with, other nationalities of children, and we just were kids and we did what kids do, and that's play.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's my biggest memory of Black Bottom, because once we moved to the Brewster Projects, then of course that took us away from Black Bottom, where Miller High School was, and further in that area, and we moved more closer to what's it called, the other one, the the other Black Bottom and
Paradise Valley?
Paradise Valley. We moved closer where we were to the Paradise Valley part.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I have my biggest amount of memories is Paradise Valley.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are some memories that come to mind when you think about Paradise Valley?
Well, in the Projects being in that area, and Sacred Heart being in that area, I have lots of memories. The children, of course, like kids, we play. Spend a lot of time playing. That's one of the things that we did. And we had the nice playground with the swings and the slide and the sandbox. And then we had a store on the corner of Mac and St. Antoine. Mr. Rollins was the name of the store, and we could go in there and buy penny candy. And of course, we didn't have very many pennies because we uh, uh, would cash in our pop bottles, and you get 2 cents for a Pepsi Cola pop bottle or something,
Mm-hmm.
And then you take your 2 pennies and you could go and buy squirrels or kicks or something like that, or
Mm-hmm.
sucker or something. But so that's one of the fondest memories is being able to walk 1 block to Mr. Rollins' store and spend your 2 pennies for some candy. That was a
Mm-hmm.
big thing back then. uh, so that's being a child. That's and then the neighbors were so friendly, and They knew that my father was widowed, and so they always helped look out for us children and included us in a lot of activities that they were doing with their children. And so it was just a fun time, just an enjoyable time. You were never lonely. You were never bored because you played in the summertime. You would play kickball, and we had like a driveway in the alley part there, but it was, we called it the alley, but it wasn't really an alley like they have in some neighborhoods. But we would play, kickball, hopscotch, marbles, racing games, move over, something. What is that? Send Red Rover over or something like that.
Hmm.
So we played games, and it was just fun, just fun. And you would go and knock on somebody's door and can to see if Betty could come out or whatever. And then so you always had somebody to play with because there were always lots of kids.
Hmm.
And in the wintertime, of course, the parents in the project section where we lived, they trained us children whereby we had to sweep the court because the court had the swing set and the slide and the sandbox and the teeter totters or seesaw. That's what they called it. Yeah. And and if we wanted to dance or have a party or something, we had to get our brooms and sweep the court so that we could go outside and play. And then they would bring music out, and then the kids could dance and just have a good time. And in the winter time, of course, there were persons like Mr. Spears who lived across in the same court, but just across from us. And he would make sure that the water was turned on, and they would put water down so that we could ice skate out there, and so that we could have your sleds, and you could run with the sled and flop down on it and just direct it so that you were going all the way to the other side of the court. And to a child, that's a long ride on a sled, and you just enjoyed it so much. So you stay out there for hours, just and as children, you you didn't get tired.
Hmm.
You just because you were having fun, and the
Hmm.
other kids were having fun also.
Hmm.
So you enjoy that. So those are just so many happy memories that uh, I had growing up there in the Brewster section of the projects.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
can you talk a little bit about what it was like going to school at Miller High?
Yes, it was um, it was a new experience for me, and and I knew that my brother Jesse was there, so that made me feel more comfortable. There were some kids from the neighborhood that went to Miller High, and so it was enjoyable for me because it was a new experience having been with the nuns all those 10 years, and they had activities and things that we did not have at the Catholic high school. So I found the hallways were crowded because there were a lot of kids, and uh, but it was fun. You could change classes, and sometimes you had to go upstairs to a class or come downstairs. So you had a chance to meet a lot of kids and um, socialize while you were doing that, and it was all good. Then they had activities that you could join, and I, became part of that, joining the different activities that they had at the school, and it was just fun. It was
Hmm.
my last 2 years of high school at Miller were enjoyable years, very enjoyable. And even to this day, there's one lady I just talked to, I guess last week, Gloria Hopkins. She was one of the cheerleaders. And of course, one of the other cheerleaders was Maddie Johnson. And Maddie, Maddie's daughters and my daughters uh, played basketball together. So that was fun, watching them. And after the mother had been on the cheering squad and all that, and they went to Cass. Her kids went to Cass, and my daughters went to Cass also. So it was nice at Miller. The teachers were the counselors. They had counselors, they had teachers, and they were very helpful. As a matter of fact, that's when I got my first job at 16, babysitting for a couple that lived away on the west side, and it was because my counselor thought that that would be a good experience for me to get some kind of work in babysitting. So I did that,
Mm-hmm.
and like I say, the teachers were pleasant. I had very good teachers, and the extra activities very enjoyable. I enjoyed that, and just being a part of some of the other things, willing to help and so on. So it was Miller to me was a good school
Mm-hmm.
because I hadn't been to any other, so other than Sacred Heart. So I just have to give it a high positive, high positive rating. Mhm.
Good. Can you, are there any other businesses that come to mind from Black Bottom or Paradise Valley that you remember going to? You mentioned Mr. Randall's. Were there some other places?
Uh, well, I know one thing. I walked to Miller High School
Mm,
from where I lived. By that time, we had moved to the Douglas part of the projects, and we would cut through the Eastern Market and go to Silver Cup Bakery and to Mr. Joe's across the street from Miller, and they sold donuts, and you had the money, you could go in there and get a donut. But going to the Silver Cup Bakery and getting bread, that was a nice memory. Um, and cutting through the market, and of course walking through where the Eastern Market was, you got to see a lot of what do you call them? The vendors who were there selling different things. And of course, if you went into the meat market, then of course you saw lots of meat. Even though my dad took us to the market when we went shopping, but going with your friends, going and coming from school, you know,
mhm.
you take it. It's just a little difference in being with your friends when you do that. So yeah, we had lots of fun walking and talking, going back and forth to school. Hmm. So great memories, great
Mhm.
memories. Yeah.
So, what did Black Bottom mean to you?
Well, because I was so young when we did live there. I didn't have any memories that I could focus in on besides the that recreation center.
Hmm.
Forgot the name of it already.
You
Uh,
mentioned Franklin, right?
Franklin, right? Um, and then I remember my dad taking me back over there to look around and see it and talk about when my brother Jesse and I went to the nursery school or whatever program they had going. So going back and forth to school was my biggest, and mixing with the students who lived in the area. See, a lot of them lived in the area. And so then they would share their stories and talk, and that would be one of the greatest things, just talking with the kids that I went to school with there, of things that they did in their area where they lived, and their parents, and they most of them went to Duffield.
Hmm.
I think Duffield School was where they went, and so I got a chance to see the school. I didn't go into school, but I did get a chance to see Duffield, and so I had an idea just from that. But me, personal memories of childhood in Black Bottom. That's as much as I can remember.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And one thing I didn't ask you earlier is what brought your father to Detroit?
Well, when my father finished eighth grade in Earlington, Kentucky, he went to Evansville, Indiana to go to high school. And having been in a small town and then going to Evansville and seeing all the things that were happening. And to him, it was a big city. And he enjoyed himself there. I could see that from the photos that he took and his book that he passed on and left. Um, but he wanted more, and so that made him branch out to try to come to Detroit. He had heard about the four $5 a day or something like that, and he decided he would try to come here and do that.
Mhm.
So that brought him to Detroit.
Mhm.
Then, yeah, that's why he came to Detroit. Just to after he graduated from high school, he moved on out, came on to Detroit to
Mhm.
start his life. Hmm.
And then that's where he ended up in Black Bottom before you all got to move to the Brewsters.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, because he stayed with a lady. He told me that he stayed at a lady's house, and she lived, I think, on McDougal Street, something like that. And that would give him a chance to get a start in getting a job and doing what he had to do, of course, until he met my mom and so on.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And do you know what brought your mom to Detroit?
Yes, her mother wanted more too. She was from Mississippi and she wanted a better life. And she used to be with her grandmother a lot. So she brought her grandmother and came here. And at the time she had her baby girl was now about 11, 12 years old. And that's when she branched out and came here. And then, of course, that's how she met my dad.
Mhm.
Yeah. Uh-huh. And then they dated and got married. Family came and so on. Yeah.
Mhm.
But that's what brought her here too.
Okay.
Better conditions.
And I
Mhm.
think you mentioned you graduated from Miller in 1954, right?
Correct. Mhm.
So it was like right around the early 50s that they had started destroying Black Bottom. So I'm
Mhm.
curious, what do you remember people saying, or what did you know about what was happening?
Well, I knew that they were, when I was much younger, living in the Brewster part, St. Wine and Elliott, they they started talking about they were going to build um, a freeway or something, and they started because I remember it was just dirt, dirt, and it was going down like the freeway like this. And we kids we would run over there and we would go down that hill, and the freeway wasn't built yet, but they were already started. Then we noticed that some more people start moving in. Some of the people that lived in our court area in the Brewster, they start moving out.
Mm.
And then some new people started coming. And they were a little bit different, some of them. But so that's what I noticed. So being observant like that, I knew something was going on. And then my father, I remember him talking with the men in the area, and they talked about that they're going to tear up Hastings Street and they're going to build this 75 freeway, and all of the people are going to be moving from the bottom. That's what he said. And a lot of those people are coming here. Well, we moved, and main reason that he moved is because we were getting steam heat, and he wanted to have the coal where he could warm his house to be the way he wanted to be, and not depend upon the radiators
Mhm.
to come on and bring the steam heat. So once we moved, and then once I started going over to Miller, then I was able to put it all together about them building up the whole area. Black Bottom was torn down, and I heard the kids at Miller talking about uh, they're they're tearing down our area. That's what they were saying,
Mhm.
and the kids didn't like it, but that's what the way things were. So they were more unhappy than I, because I was now living in the Douglas part, and that was a new facility, and it was fine, you know.
Hmm.
But it was upsetting when we were young. But as long as we were playing and we could run down that hill and stuff, we didn't care.
Hmm.
Yeah, but
So, based on all that has happened since then, I guess, in your opinion, how do you think Black Detroiters have been impacted by the loss of Black Bottom and Paradise Valley?
oh, it's been terrible. Been terrible to lose all those places of business, you know, and people were comfortable in their environment, were trustworthy. People would trust, you could trust people, and it, everybody looked out after one another. It was like a family. And then once they tore it all down, and people went every which way. Some went further east, some went west. Things were different, and so we were really impacted by it. I mean, the people that lived down there, because I know the friends that I had met at Miller School,
Hmm.
they talked about it. They were very unhappy. Their parents were very unhappy, and so it was a terrible time. And as a child, you just don't think you're comfortable, and you just don't expect that to just up and disappear. You know, and I many times I walked from where I lived on St. Wine and Elliott over to the market, and beyond the market, my dad would take us. I was a little bit familiar with it, but not too much, merely because I was still living in the project and it was nicer where I lived.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Are there any things that come to mind about what some of your peers were saying, like how they were impacted by the destruction?
Mm, I just know one thing: they didn't like it
Hmm.
because they couldn't do what they were used to doing and play out like they used to play out and go next door, and it just their whole area was just disrupted, and the kids didn't like it, and
Hmm.
they really didn't like it because they heard their parents and other adults talking about it. Mr. Johnson's store is closing, things like that. We're not going to be able to go here and get this, and what are we going to do? And we got to find a place to live, and people were really upset about it. Very upset.
And
Hmm.
what do you think the present day consequences are? How are we impacted today, in your opinion?
Well, there's been so many people that have tried to pick up the pieces and carry on and bring back what it was like, but it'll never be the same because many of those people have moved. They kept moving west, kept to 12th Street, over to Dexter, and so on. And so and people that have moved west, because I didn't move west until I think I got married. That's the first time I ever lived on the west side. You know, um, the people of it from what their parents and the ones that heard their parents talking and grandparents talking, and they're trying to carry on like it, but you can't go back. You cannot. It'll never be the same. They're trying when you find like now they're putting up what do you call them? Not farms, back where you can grow vegetables and
Community gardens.
yeah, community gardens and things. And it makes you think about, at least me, what it was like back then because people had gardens. They would plant some greens outside or whatever they wanted and so on. And they hadn't been able to do that, so they moved west, and some of them have been able to have a nice house and have a yard where they could do a little bit of planting of vegetables and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So they're trying to carry on with it, but the times are different, generations different, ideas, society changes, and so on, and they've just been impacted by it. Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And they never forget. It's a part of history that you just cannot forget. Hastings Street being a place of business, and you can many times I walked up and down Hastings Street going to a store like Barthwell's was a drugstore and to get ice cream and what have you. Or even walking down to the 5 and 10 cent store. I don't know whether they called it Kresge's or Neisner Brothers, something like that. But it was right there on the corner of I think Brewster and Hastings, and you could go in there and buy different little things that you wanted, you know.
Mhm.
And now, of course, things are a lot different in the Brewster area, or even where they're going to put this 375. I don't think it's ever going to. It's not going to go back
Mhm.
to where it was before. No, times are too different to think that we can go and recreate all of that that they tore down. That's just not going to happen. But I haven't been keeping up lately. All I know is that they're supposed to be working on getting 375 ready.
Mhm.
Don't see what's going to happen.
So one of the things they're talking about will happen with this 375 redevelopment project is that 30 acres of land will become available for development because they're trying to replace that with a boulevard. So
Mm.
similar to how Grand Boulevard is, where you have the
Mm-hmm.
businesses on the side, it's going
Mm-hmm.
to be like a similar kind of
Uh,
situation. So, what we've been asking people who have connections to Black Bottom and Paradise Valley is what they would like to see in that land, considering, those folks were impacted by the initial destruction and creation of this project. So, I'm curious for you, like, what would you like to see in the 30 acres as maybe a form of repair for the harm that was done to folks who lost their homes and businesses and cultural places?
well, they're going to have 30 acres of the land, you said, but I think they need to give it back.
Mm.
They need to give it back to the people because their families, their family people that were part of that, and now they've passed on, and their children or grandchildren need to have some of that land to either business or something going on in that area because it's history. It's history, and people need to know history. It hasn't always been that way. Not always been that way. I look at where when I got married. Uh, I don't have my wedding album here, but anyway, they when the housing, I was right at the front door where I was. A picture was taken of my dad and I standing on the porch. It's right at Alfred and Bobian, yeah, Bobian, and there was a school called Stephen Foster Elementary School, and I think it's still there, but I don't know if they're using it as part of a Detroit public school or they're doing something with the police department there. Or, I don't know what they're doing with it now, but that whole area over there around Wilkins and Adelaide, Division, Bobian, John R. Brush, all of that is new buildings now. You would never think that there was a project right across the street, but I know I have pictures in the background of when I got married, and you can see the 14-story and the row houses that they had. But all of that is new, and it's like there was never anything there about a project. That's the way it was. But I don't think they haven't torn the 14-story buildings completely all gone now.
Mhm.
I think they're using those, some one or two of them. You can see them from I-75 when you're traveling south on I-75. You can see the 14 stories that are still there. But those those it's a history, and that is why we wrote that book,
Mhm.
because we wanted the history told by the persons who live there. We don't want somebody outside coming and saying, "Oh, the Brewster Project was horrible. It was bad. It was this." No, it was like a family setting, and that's the way it is with the Douglas Project. They had that school there, and so on. But then uh, you look at what's down there now, you would think it was never anything there. That's why we put that in the archives of the Detroit Public Library.
Okay, so that's where you can find that book. It's in the archives.
You can go there and look it up.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, can you share what do you think is important for most generations to remember about Black Bottom and Paradise Valley? But in your situation, I also want to ask that question in terms of the Brewster projects. Like, what is most important for people to remember about those places?
Some very prominent people came out of the projects. Can't name them all, but in doing research, and when people found out about the book being written, they came. I got calls, and people came from everywhere. As a matter of fact, there was the Hood family. I don't know if you. There was, and he was, oh gosh, Raymond Hood, and his brother. I don't forgot his brother's name. Well, Raymond was in my class. That's why I remember him so well. But his son goes to Sacred Heart Church, and every now and then I'm there at the same time he is, and he's always reminiscing about his dad when he sees me. I said, "Oh yeah, your dad and I, we were good friends when we were kids right there at Sacred Heart School." So I think what we want to uh, do is to leave as much of the history in order to let people know that it was not a bad place for us to grow up in. And we learned so much about togetherness and being socializing and finding out about history and organizations and so on. It was that's what I want to know, and I have carried what my dad uh, exposed me to. I have carried that with me and passed it on to my children. And we have two daughters. We lost our son in 2001, but we have two daughters, and both of them are active community wise, just like my dad was, and just like my husband and I have been since we lived here, you know. So children learn by what they're exposed to, and they learn it at an early age. And you might not think they're learning when they're listening, but they are learning. And a lot of that stays in your brain in the back. And when you get where I am, I'm 88 years old, you get where I am, a lot of that comes out. See, it's had a long time to sit back there in your brain. It's the current, up to date things that you do today. Example, what did you have for dinner last week? You don't know. You have to think about it
Mm-hmm.
and figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. But you never forget what mama served for dinner or grandma or whoever served for dinner a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
Because I hear that from talking with the people here. Ooh, what my grandmother used to do. She could make some cornbread. Oh, it just make you want to hurt yourself. There's things like that that you want to leave memories. You want to leave memories. It really, really helps you when you get older, like us now, of the pleasant memories, the happy things, because life is what you make it, and there's going to be a lot of ups and downs, and good things and bad things, and you got to learn how to do it, live with it, deal with it. And children are watching you, your whole reaction. And I'm sure you've heard children say, "Ooh, my grandmother always crying."
Mm,
You go about so and so, and grandma's just gonna have tears coming. Well, they're learning from that. So you want to be able to pass it on. That's my feeling. Pass on. There's been some good things and some bad things in your life, but pass it on. And in a roundabout way that you can do better.
mhm,
You want to always do better, and you want to pass it on. And I think in growing up, that's what I did. I always wanted to do better, do better, do better. If it's hard, so what? Life's hard. Do better. Work at it. Give them the positive things in
mhm.
life. Mm-hmm.
One of the last questions I have is, how do you want to be remembered?
I would like to be remembered as a person who always want to reach out and help those less fortunate, help other people where help is needed, not make fun of someone because they don't have a certain type of clothes, shoes, or can't do this or can't do that. I want to leave more of a positive thought from my own experiences in life, having grown up and been living in a government housing project and being on public assistance. So what? I did what I could to help myself to move forward, to do better. And you always want to do better because you can't go back. You can't go back. It's over. The housing, the I-70, 375, and all that, that's present day. You're not going to get what was in the bottom, what you living in Black Bottom. You're not going to get that. Or Paradise Valley, you know. You're not going to get that. I remember when I was a student nurse. No, I had finished nursing and I was working at Harper Hospital. And I, um, across the street from the hospital on John R. was the Gotham Hotel. The Gotham Hotel. And that was a place that was well known. But they tore it down. And I remember when they tore it down. And of course, I wouldn't be able to go there anymore. But I did have a chance to go in and see how beautiful it was and observing people that had gone there for different activities. As a matter of fact, my husband and his boys from Wilbur Wright High School, where he graduated, they went to this, um, the Gotham Hotel. That's where they went to for their high school, kind of like a celebration. It was a boys' school, so it was all boys that went. They didn't have any girlfriends going or anything like that. It was just boys. But it left a memory with him about the Gotham Hotel. Mhm. And we both went to an affair about 3 years ago, and the lady wrote a song about the Gotham Hotel, and she was part of a band, and they played it and they sang it, and I have a copy of that song, all about the Gotham Hotel.
Mm,
So you can't go back. You can remember me for the positive things that I did and the encouragement that I put forth to help others. And I get that helping from my dad. My dad was always trying to help somebody else. And my kids are like that. My two daughters are like that now. They're always reaching out. I remember how when I was teaching, I reached out helping my students, some that were less fortunate. And the school I retired from is right over there on Southfield Freeway, Rudderman, Southfield Freeway, and forgot the other street now. But it's not far from here. It's a matter of fact, when they were building this place, I was teaching over there, and so going and looking at the kids that were less fortunate living in the Herman Gardens project. So many times I would do things for those students because I knew they were less fortunate.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what it's all about. I learned from my dad. I watched him. My kids learned from me, always wanting to help out. So that's all. That's what I want. Just remember for me for wanting better for those that are less fortunate. Yeah.
Is there anything that you want to talk or mention that we haven't talked about yet?
Mm, um, I'm thankful that I have had a wonderful life, and God has blessed me to live 88 years. I'll be 89 in August. To be healthy, basically. I mean, I don't have any crippling things or anything wrong with my thinking and so on. I'm blessed. My father kept four of us together and raised us to be adults as a widower by himself, and that his mother raised our youngest sister. And I'm thankful that he did the best that he could. And I always wanted to make my dad proud of me. And my mom, I didn't know her, but I wanted my mom to be proud of me and my dad and set a good example for my family. And that's why my dad, he's the only one in his family that graduated from high school. And he impressed upon us the importance of education. You can't go wrong. That's why he left his small town, went to a bigger city so he could graduate from high school. And I'm thankful. I'm thankful that God has helped me to grow up to be a fine, decent young lady and help other people. And I'm thankful for that.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing your story with us.
Quite welcome. And she was she is an artist, and that's her picture over there.
Okay.
And this one is hers in here, over there on that wall.
Oh wow, you do have some beautiful art on the walls. I noticed that.
And my husband's a photographer as well as a framer, so he has framed all the pictures that you see in this apartment.
Wow.
Yes. And okay, I showed you my mom and my dad's pictures over there on the behind the card here. This is my dad, the one that came from Kentucky, and this is my mom that came from Mississippi.
Beautiful.
This one has the lady that lived to be 119.
Wow.
This is my great grandmother. She lived to be 119. There's a newspaper article on that that we have. And that's her granddaughter.
And where does she live?
Oh, they're all
in
deceased.
Mississippi?
Yeah, this is on my mother's side, yes. Mississippi. This is all 5 of us children, siblings here, right there. This is my maternal grandmother, Lillian Morning.
I love that name.
This is my dad when he graduated from high school. And that's my dad. And this is his mother. And that's my dad. My sister and I. And this is the 4 children. My grandmother took the baby after our mother died. Our mother died in 1942, and she was 26 years old. She had peritonitis, and that caused her death. I have the death certificate on that. And so that left my father widowed with 5 children, the oldest one 7. And so he never remarried. He lived to be 82, and he raised 4 of us. And his mother, this lady here, she raised the baby. She was only 4 months old when our mother died. I was 5. It's my mom and dad here.
Oh.
And my mom again. And this is my dad and the 3 boys.
Okay.
3 brothers, his 3 sons. Bury my grandmother. She died in 1963. And that's when we went to Kentucky to bury my grandmother. And this is my grandmother and her 2 granddaughters, me and my sister.
Wow.
And let's see, where are we? That's my mom with one of her friends. And these are all my father's, some of the grandchildren, my cousins, when we were little.
And then who's in this photo right here again?
We are the 3 great-grandchildren of that lady over there. And that's what the article says. When she died, she left 3 great-great-grandchildren, and that's us.
Wow.
And here we are standing with our mother. That was Jesse, myself, and Philip, Henry Philip.
So I'm wondering, does the 64 mean the year? So is that?
No. My dad took pictures, and he took a lot of pictures. That's why we have so many photos. And then he had them enlarged. Back in the day, you had to put it in the shop, and it took longer. It's not like today. And this is when we had our name put down in the Detroit riverfront. You'll see the McCauley family on there.
Okay. And then who's in this photo?
And this photo here, we went to Kentucky to visit, and these are all the 6 children that my father had. That's the daughter that we didn't meet until we were 18, 19 years old. So that's all of us. That's the one photo we have of all 6.
Wow.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing all this with us.
Yeah. Okay. Back over here. And then we'll move in here. I'll just very quickly share some of the things in here. This is the one that says, woman 118 years old is recovering in a hospital. Aged woman hurt in the hospital. And her name was Marie Adams. And I won't read the article unless you want me to read it.
No, you don't have to read it.
Okay, because that was in the Detroit paper here. And we'll move around the table this way. We had family reunion in '94, and this is an article about our family reunion that the kids got. And this is some pictures that my father had in his scrapbook. He played on the football team in high school in Kentucky. Evansville, Indiana was where he finished high school. And but he was very active. He was in the choir, in the theater, and so on. He was always very active. And here he is with some of his friends and helping the Boy Scouts and what have you. So, and then of course we have other pictures of him in here with his friends and when he was a young man. And then there's his birth certificate record. And this is his mother's marriage license. James McCauley from Pembroke, Kentucky, and Viola Tapp of Seabrook, Kentucky. They got married. That's my dad's. This is my dad's family. And then these are pictures of my grandmother. That's my maternal grandmother, my mother's mother. And me and my sister and my grandmother in Kentucky visiting. And this is my grandmother and my mother taking a picture. And they came to visit us in the projects. And there's my dad with the three of us children. And his lady friend, that's my dad and mom's dad. And this is when we had just the two of us, Mary and Jesse, with my mother. And this talks about the Brewster Projects. This book was put together when a group called the Boppers came together back in '91. And so we belong to the Boppers. And now this is just me, not my husband. So, oh gosh, I got more pictures in here. Oh yeah, these are some of the people that lived in the projects. And that's Brewster Center, which was the place that everybody went to for activities. Yeah. So, but this tells a story about the Brewster Projects, which was all part of my life in 60s and 40s, 50s, until they tore it down. Yeah. And when life was in the Brewster Projects, there's an article that would be interesting to probably put something down about it. Oops. Both of those, yeah. And this is we went to the picnic for the Brewster Project some years ago, and that's Brewster Center behind us. And most of these people have passed on, but I know she's still living.
Do you still meet up or keep
No.
in contact?
No, the Brewster Projects, the Brewster Boppers group, we finally disbanded. It took us 5 years, but we're coming to that. We wrote a book. Here's our book over here. Oh yeah, we saw that. And this is a village called Brewster from 1938 to 1953. And my family moved in to the Brewster Projects in 1938. My father, mother, and there were two of us. No, one was born in 38. So three of us. There was 3 children. And then when the family increased by 2 more children, we moved across the court to that had 3 bedrooms. So we had enough room for the whole family. And I lived in the Brewster Projects until I got married in 1959. But what they did, they had Brewster from Mack to Wilkins. And then they built the Douglas projects, and those were the high-rise, 14-story, and some row houses. So then my family moved down there. My dad moved us down there because they didn't have. Let's see, the first house we lived in was on Mack in the projects, 642 Mack, and that was across the street from Biggs Funeral Home. Then when the family increased, we went to 3502 St. Antoine, right at the corner of St. Antoine and Elliott. Placed them higher on a chair or something, so if you want to get more pictures.
Who's this picture of right here?
And that's my sister Annette and my oldest brother Jesse. And these here are all of this group. This lady is our sister. We didn't meet till she was 18 years old. And then these are her. This is her family. All of this except that one. The others are hers. That's her family. And most of these over here are my. Yeah, they're all my family. Yeah. My brother, that's me. That's my sister's children. My husband riding the bike. We had a session here. My son is the baseball player, but the mother is the coach or whatever you want to call it. That's our house that we lived in, and we raised our children for 40 years. We lived there.
And where was that house located?
In Detroit.
In Detroit.
On Steel Street, Northwest Detroit.
What's this? It looks like Christmas time in this photo right here.
Yes, that's the kids and I at Christmas time.
Oh, very cute.
Yeah. And that's the cousin. We only had two cousins, and that was one of them. Down there, and let's see, that's my grandson at the top.
Right here.
And that's my son, Conrad Peter Cosey. That's him.
Right under.
And he passed away in 2002, one, I think. And these are a second cousin here, cousin. And then there's myself, my oldest daughter, and my husband. And this is a Christmas picture that was taken here. My daughter Regina, my second daughter. And then there's me and my two daughters on that one on the bottom.
This one right here.
Yeah.
You've done such a good job of keeping your family's photos.
Well, I want to pass it on. That's why you need to know. Okay.